Hello and welcome everyone to our Ashford University 2018 STEM Day event. This session is focused on a panel discussion including alumni as well as students within Ashford University. We're so excited to join us today on the panel, Ms. Kyla Juniel and Mr. Ryan Garringer. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Now, I'm going to give just a little bit information on both of you, and then I'll ask you guys to chime in and give us a little bit more. But I've had the pleasure of working with Kyla and meeting Kyla as she was going through her degree program here at Ashford University. Kyla, when you speak, I'll let you go into detail on which degree program that was and your experience and all. But I will say that both Kyla and Ryan are employees of Cox Automotive. Cox Automotive is one of the organizations who is a business partner of Ashford University. We work together to help to educate their employees. Their individuals come and join us throughout their degree programs, and we have an awesome working relationship. I was able to attend some Cox Automotive sessions. Actually, it was their Ashford Day luncheon, where they were recognizing all of the employees going through their educational programs with Ashford University. And a large amount of employees at Cox Automotive are going through their degree programs within the Forbes School of Business and Technology. So we are so excited about this partnership. Now, with Ms. Kyla is currently the lead quality analyst at Cox Automotive. She has 20 years experience in the information technology industry in a variety of ways, including technical, analytical, and client contact roles. And Ryan, also at Cox Automotive, is a product delivery manager in the global digital marketplace within Cox Automotive. And I met Ryan and have worked with him as well, going through one of our degree courses here. Had a wonderful relationship and experience in working with you, Ryan, in the course. And he is passionate about product development, innovation, client experience, and career growth. So welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi.
So I'm going to let you guys share a little bit more of what I didn't have as far as Cox Automotive. We have the floor here. We're so excited to have Cox Automotive as a partner with us with Ashford University. And so Kyla, could you share a bit about Cox Automotive? And then Ryan, I'll ask if you can chime in with some extra as well.
So Cox Automotive basically is a business where we I think, Ryan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's about 3 to 4 years ago now, where they took a lot of their long-standing businesses, which is Mannheim Auto Trader. They have Kelley Blue Book and Edmunds, that they went ahead and started to consolidate those businesses into one organization to match kind of the other framework for Cox under Cox Enterprises. So Cox Automotive, I'm sorry, trying to describe this is really just it has several different business units, like I said, for the businesses that we described, but there's also within those, within Cox Automotive, you have a lot of different facets for, like, there's large technology teams, which is a huge practice that we have, as well as product, media, and delivery, even within Cox Automotive. You can add to that, Ryan.
Sure. So just kind of put it out there. Our mission statement for Cox Automotive is we're really trying to transform the way that the world buys, owns, and sells cars. And we touch currently 3 out of 4 cars in the US and in Canada today. So it's more than likely that we've touched one of the cars that you've owned either currently or in the past. And exactly what Kyla said is Cox Automotive is a part of Cox Enterprises. And Cox Automotive is comprised of around 25 different brands, both domestic and international. And we touch every single part of the life cycle of a vehicle in the marketplace. Most of the brands you probably wouldn't recognize unless you're in the automotive industry field. But as retail consumers, some of the brands, as Kyla mentioned, that you'd probably be very familiar with is Auto Trader and also Kelley Blue Book. So those are 2 of our business units within the portfolio for Cox Automotive.
That's very good. I'm very familiar with the Kelley Blue Book. I've used that as well when purchasing and selling cars too. So Cox Automotive, when we talk about technology integration into Cox, and each of you in your roles, could you both talk about your current position that you hold and how you use and integrate information technology within your roles? And Brian, we'll start with you.
Sure. So as you mentioned earlier, Dr. Ivy, my current role with Cox Automotive is a product delivery manager. My day-to-day, I couldn't survive my day-to-day without using information technology. It is absolutely critical for the success of my role, my team, and the greater, Cox Automotive in general. So as a product delivery manager, what I'm primarily focused on is I work between the business and technology side. And what I do is I gather some requirements from both internal and external stakeholders. So from our clients, I listen to exactly what they're looking for on some of our front-end applications, and also from the business, what they're looking to do, where they're looking to go in the next couple of years, and make sure that I clearly understand what the vision is, document that, and then have a team of software engineers, my Scrum Master, and some other folks really build some really great requirements to ensure that we are developing for that vision. And also another important part of the role is just the prioritization. With every role in IT, you have so many asks and so many requirements. And it's really being able to take, a large amount of information and really be able to package it and be able to prioritize what is most important to the consumers. So day to day, it's working with several folks on the business and technology side and really trying to drive development with utilizing IT in many different facets.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, Ryan. And Kyla, in your position as Senior Quality Analyst, what exactly are your requirements in that role and your functions, and how do you integrate technology?
Okay. So my particular role now is the lead for a settlement release train that we have in the technology team. I support Oracle Financials. And what that means is basically in terms of the business units that we have, I work on an enterprise. I work on the technology side. So a lot of those requirements that Ryan says that they develop and prioritize through product, we're the handoff. We take those requirements, make sure that we execute the software development lifecycle to make sure that those can get to the business and impact our customers positively as an outcome. And so in my role, I'm responsible for leading some QA software engineers and software analysts that test the outcomes of that software development to make sure that they are meeting the requirements that we receive from the product teams, if you can understand it. You said requirements for my role? Mm-hmm. Okay, so a lot of the requirements for, I guess, my role, it's probably like an entry-level leadership position within the technology team. But as a QA lead, I am primarily responsible for making sure that my team understands what those requirements are and that we understand the scope of testing of and we have to also respond to what's feasible for us to test as they go along through the development lifecycle. We work very closely with the developers as well as the Scrum Masters, depending on your teams. We're currently in the midst of a huge agile transformation here. So our team structure is kind of changed to describe that matches the description Ryan gave of a lot of the internal customers that he's working with in terms of Scrum Masters, software engineers, dev leads and architects and things of that nature. We're working very closely with them to make sure that as we take those requirements, we're able to conceptualize, design, develop, and then make sure that it's implemented out into the market as expected.
That's very exciting. It seems like for both of you guys in your positions, it is constant change, fast-moving environment. And I've heard both of you talk about Scrum and Agile, and that talks about managing in this very fast-moving environment. Is that right?
Yes.
Spot on.
Awesome. So here, let me ask you the question as far as your degree program, Kyla, that you have completed. Could you talk about what degree program you completed at Forbes School of Business and Technology when you completed it, and how that helped to prepare you to continue to evolve in your current position and your next steps as well?
Okay. Due to the awesome program that we have at Cox Auto and the partnership that they have with Ashford, I decided, which was a little unorthodox, to get a second bachelor's degree. Initially, when I went to college, I got a degree in political science. And like I said, I've been in IT for over 20 years, for nearly 20 years. And although I felt like I had a good skill set and I had the aptitude to be successful, I always kind of felt like there was maybe just something I can enhance educationally. So I decided to take advantage of our leadership program and went and attended Ashford and received a bachelor's in business information systems in 2017.
Awesome, awesome. And how about yourself, Ryan? What degree program are you currently in Ford School of Business and Technology?
Sure. So as Kyla mentioned, I am also very excited to say that I'm part of the program that enables our team members to take advantage of tuition free. And I'm currently enrolled in the MBA program, going after that standard MBA. And I'm learning just, different many facets that I wasn't familiar with earlier. I just finished taking the information technology class. So it's really great to see, some of the information that you learn from that is day-to-day practice. And then you also learn some new things, but across the board, just learning some things about business, whether, it's in law, whether, it's in communication, every single thing is very applicable, in the corporate world. So it's providing a lot of advantages, and I'm able to take what I'm learning in real time and apply that to my day-to-day role, which is absolutely fantastic.
That's excellent. We just had a session of the program chairs of all of our technology degree programs at Ford's, and we were talking about the exciting design of our courses they're designed where you can take a course, learn, and apply. It's not waiting until after your degree is done, right? Because it's all about learning and applying your knowledge. So with that, let me ask you guys, as you, Kyla, completed your degree, Ryan, you're working through your degree program and understanding the importance of integrating that business, as you spoke, Ryan, with technology, as Kyla, you do in your position as well. What particular courses would you give a heads up to students who are either in those degree programs or interested in going through those degree programs that are so important for them to engage in because they're going to need it when they work in the industry? What courses are so important?
For me in the MBA program, there would be two, especially looking from an IT side, that are absolutely critical. And that's that information technology class. I mean, it gives you a very wide spectrum of everything that teleconferencing all the way down to databases, something where you just want to scratch a surface on and have that context. Because when you get into those technical roles, you don't need to know everything, but as long as you're able to talk to it and have a small amount of information about that, it's going to go a very long way in any type of IT role. The other one was a communications class that I took. Being in corporate, in any role really, it comes down to communicating effectively. I've worked on several teams where I've had team members in other countries, so there's a difference in dialect, and you really have to make sure that you are clearly defining requirements, clearly defining what the asks are from the business. And even with people that you work with day to day, I could be more business focused and I'm working with more developers or software engineers that might speak a different language. So really being able to have a concrete and effective communication is critical in order to be successful in the IT career.
That's a great point, Ryan. And you said something there as far as the teams that you work on and how not only are they not just remote team members in the US, but even international. How important is teaming? And an individual, when they're going through their degree programs, being able to work on assignments where they actually are working on teams. Is that important to really grasp through the degree program so you can integrate it in the real work environment?
I think it's critical. I think more in a lot of IT spaces right now, one of the key buzzwords that you're always going to hear is about collaboration. And I think that you, in addition to what Brian is saying about being able to embrace and be able to work with people that have different cultural backgrounds, our workplace right now is also dealing with some generational differences. So you need to be able to work effectively and be able to communicate effectively to people that may be in a generation above or below you or the same, and treat everyone with that same respect. And I think that like I said, in addition to just collaboration, especially as we're talking about in an agile space, that's the key underlying theme for everything that needs to get done. I've, had the opportunity even to work with Brian on some past projects, and you work with people. You're always, I guess I'm trying to say is that you're always going to have to be able to reach across the aisle or reach across into another building and be able to communicate effectively and realize that communication is very necessary to make sure that no time is lost. Like Brian and I, for an example, we had a project, I think early, I don't know, maybe it was 2 years ago when we worked on Peg and Gate Pass, that where I talked to you for months on our applications or via a Join Me before I ever met you in person. And I think that that's very much the case all the time. And I think that you have to be very clear and very concise and very direct and able to work in changing environments and have a willingness to collaborate at all times.
I'm going to linger just a little bit on this teaming direction here. And so, yes, students can get some of that experience going through their courses and degrees when they're working on their degree programs. What are some other ideas that you guys may have that if I'm a student, yes, I'm going through my degree program, I know I don't have that much collaboration experience, and I know it's important to put on my resume. What are some of those different ways that maybe I can get some of that experience? And this is even outside of my coursework.
Sure. So I learned this a while back, and I've practiced this, and I think it's fantastic. Is one way that you can do that is look for some of those local organizations in your area, statewide, national, whatever you can find, whatever you're passionate about. One thing for me is, product. I absolutely love product, love innovation. And here in Atlanta, Georgia, we have a thing called, or a group called Product Camp. And what that does is it's a 1 year, every year they have a full day of just product sessions and whatnot, but it takes a year to come up with that itinerary, to come up with that one day. And so I joined a team. I didn't have project management experience. I can go in there and volunteer to be a project manager for them. I'm not getting paid for it, but I'm getting that exposure. I'm able to network with other individuals. We also have another fantastic organization in Georgia called Technology Association of Georgia. And again, there's many different societies that you can get involved with. So if you're extremely passionate about a type of role, you can always take a voluntary role, get some of that exposure, and you really get to learn and be able to network with other individuals that have the same passion. And it can lead to some jobs in your future. And you can definitely put it down on your resume that you have this type of experience and exposure, which is great.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Ryan, you talked about your passion, and there are so many ways that an individual's passion can lead them into volunteering to get experience, exposure. I always talk about volunteering in the community. You can do that with organizations who have IT infrastructures. Churches, as an example, they have tons of media equipment, and they always look for someone to help to run that. And a lot of times quite open to those who may be part of that organization and joining it to get that experience. Kyla, you had an experience, and this was actually as you were graduating, and you worked with us to create an article that included technology and your passion. You want to talk a little bit about that?
We discussed that one of my passions is I'm very passionate in trying to have a positive impact on food insecurity and food deserts, particularly in my cities. So I mentioned that I try to look, as Brian mentioned, some organizations that are directly trying to impact that and volunteer through those particular organizations. Like I said, we talked about my passion. I don't think that I made a direct correlation between food insecurity and technology, other than what you're saying is to volunteer with those particular organizations and see how my ideas or my background for planning and strategizing can help improve some of their initiatives. But to add on to what Ryan was saying in terms of a volunteer world and how it impacts technology, very early on in my career, I sought out those same type of organizations that he mentioned, whether it was TAG, WIT, but also there's organization in Atlanta, and I believe that it's a national organization and it's regional for different areas. But we have an organization called Hands on Atlanta that has a specific technology component. And it was a great way for me to be able to get into the door, and as Ryan said, to pick up different projects and work within different roles to gain that experience. And when you're talking about teaming, any of those examples are great ways to meet other professionals and also to network, which is essential in trying to get into the door to many companies these days.
Awesome, awesome. Now, Kyla, I don't think I got a chance to hear from you regarding your degree program, and what courses would you recommend for someone who's interested in stepping into the IT world? From your standpoint of your degree program, what courses would be really important for them to engage in?
So over a year out, I would struggle to come up with the exact course name. I don't recall that exactly, but I know that similar to the MBA program at the bachelor level for information systems, there was an overall course about information systems. And I think that it talked about, I remember being able to use my experience in some of our discussions, weekly discussions, to talk about the differences between waterfall and agile, that you start to understand some of those industry terms, and to Ryan's point, gain more understanding about the different types of roles and the different steps within the SDLC process. And I think that as a base, you should understand all of those things coming out of your degree program. There was also a course that discussed a lot about supply chain, which is something that I understood it high level, but I didn't really get a lot of information, and it surprisingly gave me much more background than I anticipated getting into that particular class. In terms of it touched lightly on Sigma 6, but it was just about a lot of supply chain and logistics and how that impacts business and in different flows of how that flows back into information technology.
Awesome, awesome. An awful lot about the software development lifecycle. And so students out there, as you're taking those classes, really pay attention, because both of these individuals have applied it greatly, right?
I think that you definitely should come out of any program that's focused on technology with a solid understanding about the SDLC.
Awesome, awesome. Certifications, how important in both of your roles? Is it quite fine to obtain your degree program and then stop right there? Or is it important to always look at that next step, where you want to go and what's required? Even in your current position, how can you always continuously improve yourself? Ryan, let's start with you. How does that work in your environment there?
Sure. And that, I love what you say, that you're always trying to plan ahead. I always look at that. The world is always changing, priorities are always changing. It's, technology is really bringing us to a new age every single year. So it's really great to be caught up with, as much information, to keep learning as much as possible. Some certifications, with product management, there's several different certifications out there. I personally don't have too many certifications. So I took a survey of my direct team, and there's Scrum Alliance out there. They offer some courses and certifications in product ownership, and also being a Scrum Master as well, if that's your passion. For me, what I like to do is really, try to get any kind of certifications out there that you can leverage for free as well. I worked in digital marketing when I first started my technology career, and we were working with Google AdWords and Bing and, SEO, SEM. And Google offers free certifications for Google AdWords, Google Analytics. So, being able to take that, read some free documentation, take some tests, and, get certified for free is fantastic. Along with getting my MBA currently, I'm also enrolled in a class at Udemy. And that's, I think it's called the Full Developer course. So I'm learning, everything about CSS, APIs, integrations. I'm learning a lot more technical stuff. And although my role doesn't really require for me to know that much detail in technology related to coding, for example, it's really good for me to understand that, so I can connect better with my team. I can provide better estimations and, just be more involved and connected with the individuals that I work day to day, and across teams as well, to kind of understand where they're coming from and the level of effort it's going to take. So for me, really look at what your role is, look at where your industry is, try to find what certifications out there you can leverage for free. And there are other ones out there that you can pay for and use that along with your college degree. And, the more you learn, the more educated you become, the stronger of a team member you are going to be to your organization.
Excellent point, Ryan, because what you're talking about is because IT continues to evolve, industries continue to evolve, and the requirements of industries, we have to always be top on our game, right? And you said something that I just want to emphasize as well, FREE. There are online learning environments that you can obtain in addition to your degree programs to help to enhance you.
Exactly.
Awesome, awesome. And Kyla, is that your experience when you think about certifications in your line of work in the quality analyst position? How important is certifications, and what type of certifications are important as well?
I think so. It's relative. I think it's very much in line with what Ryan described. I think you need to look at your particular role, what you need to do in terms of a QA role. There are some certifications that a lot of employers tend to look for. I know that when we are looking to hire, this is something that comes up continuously among leadership is how much emphasis do we need to put on emphasis over experience and education do we need to put on certification. I think for QA analysts, two of the most popular ones that are out there is the ISTQB, which is an international certification, as well as you can get, I think, a CSTE is a hot one right now, which was kind of a distinction between a test engineer versus it used to be a CSQA. So in my particular discipline, as we're moving towards agile, and that's the hot ticket right now, so is automation. And that's something that if you're interested in software testing, that would be a great add if you're looking to do a particular certification, is to find a technology or language that's actually a hot scripting language right now, and maybe invest in that type of certification. But to Ryan's point, there's a lot of freeware out there that could help you get that same background and be able to speak to that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's talk about innovation. How important is innovation within both of your walks in what you're doing? And with that innovation, what has that meant for the years that you've been on board in your particular career paths? How have you seen innovation impacting what you do? Let's start with Ryan.
Sure. So, I listed in my bio as one of my passions is innovation. I think it is absolutely critical that companies are innovating. Without that innovation, you're going to phase out. You're not going to be relevant anymore within the ecosystem, within the marketplaces. And so you always need to be striving for what the customers want, what they desire, what is that best experience out there. For us at Cox Automotive, we, like Kyla mentioned earlier, Cox Automotive came together 3-4 years ago, and it was trying to pull in 25 plus brands together, both domestic and international, and trying to integrate and seeing what synergies can we have between, different business units, and what can we provide to the clients. And that's one thing, integration, it sounds easy when you own them all, but it is a challenging task. But once you get that right, you're able to just innovate away and really bring some great new experiences for your clients and be really attractive to clients that you don't currently have in the marketplace. Innovation, we see other companies that they're redefining how the marketplaces are. In Kyla and I's world, we work at a company called Manheim, which is the largest auction for wholesale vehicles in the U.S. And what we're seeing this transformation, in prior decades, dealers would love to go kick the tires, go to these in-lane auctions and look at these cars before they purchase them. Over time, we're seeing, your mobile devices becoming critical in the marketplace. Dealers are just purchasing vehicles right off the their cell phones, tablets, and whatnot. So you have to be really innovative in how you present that inventory, how you present to your marketplace, and it's critical for that client experience. And then it's also critical to understand what new products out there are driving the marketplace. There could be some hot topics out there, some hot products out there, and it's really good to stay ahead of the curve, or else they're going to make you irrelevant as either your product or an organization. So to answer your question, innovation is key, I think, for corporations and organizations to be successful in the future.
That's an awesome point, Ryan. Competitiveness includes innovation. And if you haven't moved forward, you're going to be behind. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yes, yes. Kyla, what do you think about that too? Innovation, and how important is that within your career direction, and how have you seen changes from it?
Like I said, I think in terms of our business structure, what Ryan described is spot on. From a technology team member, especially here at Cox Automotive, I think that innovation also impacts how you, the competitiveness and the retention that you are able to gain with your particular employees. And I think that here at Cox Auto, not only are they looking at innovation as a way to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace and to try to, inform our strategies for 5-10 years in advance, but it's also a way for us to try to make sure that we're cutting edge and allowing our team members to be able to share the ideas that they believe will help make us successful. And we have like internal hackathons, we have internal innovation days like that, that also play into allowing us to stretch outside of your day-to-day role and be able to also give something back to your company.
Awesome, awesome. Kyla has a hard stop within about 10 minutes, and I want to open up the floor to see if any participants attending this conference have questions of our panel members. And so, Kate, if you can help me to keep an eye on the chat box there, just open it up. If anyone has any questions, again, Kyla is a senior lead in quality assurance, right, within the IT industry in Cox. And Ryan is a product developer. And so as those questions begin to come in, both of you, if you would think about it and take yourselves back to when you first entered the IT industry. Okay, you finished your BA, brushed yourself off, I'm ready for the real world. What advice would you give to anyone who's out there who's interested in stepping into the IT industry from your experience? What would be some of those bits of advice you would provide to them?
I think the number one thing, and the only thing that's really constant in information technology is change. So I think for anybody to be successful, you got to be adaptable to your environment, to your role. Understand that it's going to change in the next 3 months, 6 months, year, and really being adaptable to your role and what you're doing. Be observant of the marketplace as well. Be observant of how clients are adapting to new technology. Being in the automotive industry, I ask my young cousins, what do they think about Carvana? What do they think about these other applications? I try to pick their brains. I try to, every time I go to a store, I see how consumers are acting with purchases. It's just something that you think outside of it. And then, like we mentioned before, just keep learning. Never stop learning, because it's going to be a lot of benefits to yourself, and you're going to provide a lot of benefits to your organization.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And Kyla?
I think that adaptability is totally a key word that I've had throughout my whole career. I think that you have to be willing to adapt. You have to be able to take changes and keep it rolling. But also, in addition to being observant, don't be afraid to put an idea out there. I think that, all ideas may not stick, but I think that you just have to be able to commit and know that if you thought about it, then it probably is a good idea. And it may not work today, but it may be something that can work into later. Don't shy away from those ideas that you have. And to also reinforce what Ryan said is that you have to be willing to keep learning. Things are not going to be the same next year or the year after the way that they are today. You need to be abreast in whatever your industry is, whatever your discipline is. Get involved with meetups, meet other people that are doing the same things that you can understand, and learn about organizations and websites like Udemy or other Just like, for example, we have Atlanta Quality Assurance Association. Attend those meetings that you can understand about what's hot and what's marketable, but also realizing that you never have to be 100% ready to step in the door. You have to be willing to be able to adapt and be able to be, what we look for, what I always look for when we're going through a hiring process, is somebody's ability to learn. You're never going to know everything. The market changes too quickly. You just have to have a willingness to learn and present yourself as teachable.
Wow, that point is so important, Kyla. I interviewed a CEO of a new startup, and we were talking about preparedness of individuals that he's interested in hiring. And his industry is the Internet of Things. And he told me point blankly, he said, Karen, he said, I know you're with the university, but I'm telling you right now, what I look for in individuals is not so much the degree, the specific degree that they have obtained, but I look also for the ability for that person to come on board, learn, and apply. And Kyla, that captures your last statement there, because regardless of the background that we have, that we've really prepared ourselves for, Ryan, as you stated too, and needing to continuously grow, we have to be able to identify that we're able to learn and apply.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Correct. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Kate, do we have any questions from any of the session attendees?
Karen, I'm not seeing anything right now.
Okay. Then I'm going to ask you guys a question. And Kyla, we're going to make this your last question. Kyla has a major important initiative going on in her work environment, and we want you to go ahead and be prepared for that. And Ryan, if you could go ahead and hold on for the fullness of it, we can address if any other questions come up from the attendees. Is that okay?
Problem.
Okay. Okay. A question, last question to both you guys, Kyla, while you are on board. How has information technology changed your specific job? From the time you've been on board, for how has it changed? For instance, I'm going to go back in the day, right? I'm from back in the day where when I was in school and I learned coding, don't laugh at me, guys, but we actually used the punch machine, the punch cards, where we actually had to punch out our code on the cards, feed it into this huge machine, which was our processor as we know it today, and then the printouts will come. And don't let yourselves drop a card on the floor. Well, that's how as I was learning and going through school. Let's fast forward now as I'm working in the IT environment and actually developing applications and all. But I actually was on board our support team for our applications where we used pagers. And the pagers may, call you if you had a situation where the system went down and you needed support to go in on board and figure out what was wrong with the application. Fast forwarded to where we are today. We have all types of technologies in our work environments right at our fingertips that the internet allows us to have access to better support the systems that we're developing and providing for our customers and for internal business. And so as you think about the transitions, how IT evolved in your particular walks, in your particular jobs, what are some of those things that really stick out? And Kyla, we'll start with you so you can move on. Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, I am in a direct technology role. So just in terms of like some of the hardware and some of the tooling has changed. When I started nearly 20 years ago, I remember when that RIM pager came out and we were it was such a big deal. And we were having to test some of our applications to see if they could interface with those and learning those protocols at that time. Also before the internet was very mainstream, and we didn't have that web connectivity and, when web application testing. I guess I would just say that mine has been more platform-based and more tech platform-based about what's hot and what's, kind of that involvement from mainframe to some web application testing and trying to start to get into APIs and Java and those things where they started to change what your systems were being developed on. And just that full circle from the internet not being a part of any of our life cycle processes to now where we're having to code for the Internet of Things or even smart devices and things like that now, that where everything we're so connected, where like I'm saying, I guess where it was none until now, where that's just the standards that are being applied.
And that actually adds an additional layer of security concerns as well, right? And challenges.
Yes. And so I had an opportunity to I think a couple months ago now, where I was at a WIT forum, and that's Women in Technology. There's a local organization, there's a local chapter here in Atlanta, but we had a forum a couple months ago, and a lot of that focus was on the Internet of Things. And like you said, that spawns a whole other industry or sector into cybersecurity, and talking about just how even little things as that smart device that turns on your light at home or monitors your water heater is now part of that whole technology background of making sure that people don't have other entry points into your networks, or you having to balance how much connectivity does one person really need in their personal homes versus their workspaces.
Yes, yes. And in fact, we have in our next session, we actually had our competition, STEM Talk competition. And the question to individuals were, how does STEM and the Internet of Things impact your future? And a lot of discussion there. Kyla, I'm going to be mindful of your emergency situation there. Thank you so much. You've been wonderful, as usual.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I have to leave.
No, well understood. Thank you, Kyla.
Okay.
Okay, and Ryan, the same question, going back to how has information technology really evolved in your career path as you have been walking in, and how has that looked for you?
Sure, that's a great question. So unlike Kyla, I've only been in the IT world for the previous 5 years, but still a tremendous amount of growth in that industry and field. If I had to narrow it down to 3 things, it'd probably be devices, the accessibility of communication, and then the availability of information. So when I say devices, we are on our phones constantly. When we develop products, we are mobile first in those products development as well. So as we would used to do for desktop optimization, now we're looking, how are we going to impact the phone? It's a different size screen. It's a different type of interaction with our users. So we really take that into consideration day to day when we're developing new features and enhancements for our clients and internal users. The next thing would be communication. As I mentioned earlier, this is absolutely critical with teams. Now that we're in global marketplaces, I have team members that are dedicated up north that I'd only see once or twice a year in person, but they're a critical component of my team and to be successful. So daily, just the availability to use, Zoom as a platform or Google Hangouts. We use Slack a lot, or at Cox Automotive. And, I can recall, a few weeks, maybe it was a month or 2 ago, where Slack was down just for, 2 hours. And I sat there thinking, how am I going to get through my day with Slack being down? You don't really understand how much you rely on these types of, platforms until they go down. And it's really crazy just to think of how much you rely on them on a day-to-day to function through your job. So I would just say the availability of some of these technologies is really enhanced. And then the final thing is the availability of information. The internet grows. So there's so much information you can find out there. You can see if people also experience some problems. You can gather some feedback. All of our sites have a feedback link on there, and I'm one of those guys that go on there, read the feedback, pick up the phone, and give them a call to really understand and ask them those questions of what can we do better. What would you do in this situation? What would you like to see? How can we improve that experience? And also the availability of information on our intranets as well. Like I mentioned earlier, we have 25 plus business units. I don't have much context outside of my own business unit for other business units. So being able to leverage that and understand, some key components, leveraging, robust intranets have been something that I've seen grow over the last couple of years for our organization in particular.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, Ryan. And I think the main thing, too, that you're emphasizing, because those are a lot of technical changes there, evolution. Evolution of IT definitely is applied within our industries and our work environments. And it's so important for us to understand that technology to be able to apply it to get the benefit out of it as well, right?
Completely agree.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Ryan, I think this has been wonderful. Kate, if we don't have any other questions, last check with you, Kate.
Nope, we're good on my end, Karen.
Okay, then I would like to say, Ryan, again, thank you tremendously for your insights, for your information. You have shared A through Z along with Kyla during this discussion. I'm sure it has been encouraging to some who are interested in going into IT. And I look forward to maybe working with you some more, Ryan, in some of your courses. It's been a blast. Wonderful.
Definitely. It was definitely a privilege of joining you, Dr. Ivy, and the colleagues at Ashford University. Thank you for all you guys do. And I look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Thank you.
Ryan, this is Ken, Ryan. I just want to thank you also on behalf of Forbes School of Business and Technology, and also Kyla, who I know had to leave for another obligation there. And your insights were great. I had nothing to add. I had a little list, and you covered them all. So thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ken. Everybody have a great day.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.